thanks for joining us. I'd like each one of you to give an introduction of yourself and how you entered your musical career and what you do today.
Hi everyone, I'm Samantha Sinai. I go by Sam, and I'm a cellist. I'm principal cellist of the Bellingham Symphony, and I have a cello studio of wonderful young students and adult students. I really love teaching one-on-one lessons. I'm also a music therapist, and I'm not practicing right now. I can say more later, but I moved here right before the pandemic and thought about starting a practice. And then singing, which is a big part of music therapy, was not safe. So I'm not practicing music therapy, but I'm performing a lot, and I'm teaching, and I'm just love my work. So.
My name is Kevin Woods, and I'm a musician, writer, composer, and director of jazz studies up at Western, where I get to teach, hopefully in the next couple generations, about the music and improvisation and musical risk-taking that I enjoy most in music and enjoy doing most myself. So.
My name is Mars. I'm a trombone player. I primarily make my living through touring with a bunch of different bands. I've done some live sound, some recording work, both as an engineer and as a trombone player, and currently touring with a band called MarchFourth out of Portland, and doing a little bit of management as well with them.
Hi, I'm Nika. I'm primarily a mandolinist. I was in Escape from the Zoo and Days and Days, which are punk bands from Houston, but I did a lot of managing and booking, and basically every job that you can do on tour I've done. And now I'm starting a collective to help fledgling artists, like new artists and stagnant artists, get their music out and tour in an affordable way and get exposure.
So I have a couple of questions just to kind of open up the floor. Kevin, how do you combine teaching and performing? Like, is that a juggle for you?
I think it's kind of all the same thing.
Yeah.
It's for me, music is about emotional connection. So when I'm performing, I'm trying to connect emotionally with the audience and maybe make them feel something, change their mind about something maybe not that far, but make them feel something, make them move. I often think if they're not moving or feeling something, I didn't do my job right, or the band didn't do their job right. And I've been to performances where I have not moved and felt nothing. And sometimes it's, that's just, nobody can be 100% all the time, but sometimes that's just how the band is. So I guess connecting, teaching, and performing. My role as a teacher, I believe, too, is to make the student feel something, or guide them to feel something, or challenge them to think about something in a different way. So for me, they're really, really connected. And I'm fortunate that I always loved music, but never wanted to be a full-time performer, although I've been a full-time performer at different times. I always wanted to teach music. For me, I think it's really the same thing.
Oh, and then while I've got you, you're always so busy. Like what are you busy with as a pro musician?
I would venture to guess that all of us up here are very busy.
Yeah.
It's kind of the life that you choose to lead. I didn't know what kind of questions I would be asked tonight, but I thought maybe if I was speaking to people that were interested in going into the arts, or maybe some young, I would just describe my summer in that the teaching at the college ended. I still taught a 1-week summer jazz camp. I composed 2 pieces of music to silent film for the symphony. Actually, Sam was playing that so that we could do a silent movie thing with the Pickford. I wrote a 7-piece big band suite that Western will be playing. It's all sorts of things. It's crazy. I have a hard time saying no, and that really comes from the years of freelancing, when you can't say no, when you literally have to say, yeah, Casa Bonita with the mariachi hat and sleeves, I'll take the gig. That's a gig I have played in Denver. Yeah, you say yes to everything because you're piecing together a living as a freelancer. So I think that I'm working now. I'm working this summer as of mid-August to maybe pare things down and focus on the things that aren't 97% the things I love, but the things that are 100% the things I love. So.
And then how did you end up getting a job at Western?
I don't know, luck, practice, skill. I went to Western. I finished my undergraduate degree at Western. I met a girl and followed her to Bellingham after I dropped out of college twice.
Yeah.
So yeah, the 2-time college dropout as a prof. But I ended up in Bellingham and finished my degree at Western. And while I was there, I was a little older than most of the other students. I had the opportunity to teach at Western, teach like the 200 level big band and some of the 200 level combos. And I really kind of, that's what I thought I'd wanted to be a teacher, but that's when I really fell in love with teaching. So when I left to pursue other degrees, the goal in mind was I'm gonna teach at Western someday. That was the dream. I never thought it would happen.
Oh.
Because it's a very competitive thing to get a college. It's a national search.
So someone just like asked you?
No, I took part of a national search. So I was one of the top 3 candidates chosen to come to campus after many rounds of interviews. So they kind of narrow those down from hundreds of people to 10, and then they interview 10, and then they narrow that down to 5, and then they do another round of interviews, and then they invite 3 candidates typically to the university to teach, to work with the students, to meet the faculty, to get to know them. I had an advantage, I think, because I knew some of the people. I also taught adjunct at Western for a year in 2008, 2009. But yeah, I was amazed. I was thrilled and amazed to get that position. So I'm starting my 11th year, and it's not without difficulty, but it's wonderful. It's really wonderful to be in this community and to be in that institution.
Is that typical for getting a music teacher position? Like, do all colleges do that, you think?
Yeah, if it's a full-time position, full-time tenure track position, it has to be a national search.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Sweet. All right. So who wants to go next with the interrogation? Mars? So can you tell us the day or a month in the typical life of gigging Mars?
Yeah, so it's the full-time tour thing is up and down, right? There's like you have these periods of time when you're just out touring nonstop. You have periods of time when you're kind of skipping around to different places with different groups. And then you have times when you're home and you have nothing to do except for, rehearse, learn tunes, hustle for more gigs, that kind of thing. So, for instance, this June I was on tour most of the month. I went down to Portland, got on the tour bus, spent a couple of weeks cruising around Colorado with the band. And then I came home briefly, played a couple of gigs in town, with some bands that I play with here, and then went back down to Portland, went back out with that group for a couple of weekends in a row, another short tour, then came home. And then, came home and had a lot of downtime. So yeah, it really depends what's going on. There's times when I'm doing recording sessions, there's times when I'm, learning a whole bunch of new tunes for one gig with a random group. Like I played with a Cuban singer a couple of months ago, and that was just a one-off. I got the music like 4 days before the gig. So it's really interesting. And then, when you get home from a tour, like a 6-week tour, you're pretty exhausted, pretty beat up. You tend to sleep for about 3 days. And then kind of reassess and go, okay, what do I have to work on? Do I have some downtime? Do I want to go, visit somebody? Or, do I need to hustle up some more gigs to make sure I can pay my rent? So that's a typical month. It really depends on the month.
So how do people know to call you to play with them?
Yeah, that's a good question. So a lot of it is just personal connections. There's been, a lot of the groups that I've played with in Bellingham, I mostly play, dance music. Being a trombone player, I play a lot of funk, a lot of Latin jazz, a lot of, kind of the brass, like New Orleans brass, that kind of stuff. So over the years, you kind of just, you meet a lot of people in the scene, and Bellingham has a very rich music scene. And so a lot of it has been just knowing people, knowing what groups are around, when there's free time, going out to a show, talking to people at concerts, and someone says, oh, hey, I got this new group, we could use a trombone player. So a lot of it is really personal connections. There's also been times in my life where I, say quit the band that I was making most of my money with and was looking for work. And that's where you have to kind of start hustling and self-promoting and saying, oh, hey, I saw this band and I really enjoyed it. I'm just going to give them a call, whether you know someone in the band or you get a hold of them some other way. A lot of the time I've just gotten a hold of people and said, hey, here's what I do. I like what you do. Do you need a trombone player? And the funny thing about that too is that when you're touring heavily, everyone gets used to you being busy and being gone. Sometimes things change up a little bit for you and nobody knows, nobody calls you because everyone assumes you're out on the road. It's a lot of it's just personal connections, really just checking in with people and saying, hey, who needs me, or who do I want to play with?
Yeah, I kind of remember about 20 years ago you doing gigs in churches for all the holidays.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because they like horn players.
Yeah, a long time at
Easter.
At the Church of the Assumption. Yeah. I always thought that was funny too because they have a whole beautiful volunteer choir and a whole bunch of musicians, and then they hire a brass section. I guess not a lot of brass people going to volunteering to do music at church. I don't know. But yeah, that was a great gig. I did that for years, and that was especially being like a very broke college student. Having a gig at a church, for Christmas was a really good time to have a gig because it was always a pretty broke time, and to suddenly get a nice paycheck for playing some music in a beautiful church with nice sound, and that's been a really great gig for me over the years.
So do you tell people the rate that you charge, or do people offer you money?
It works differently every time.
Oh,
yeah.
Because like the venue pays a certain amount and then you all divvy it?
Yeah, so a lot of times, so if it's someone, for instance, if a church calls and says, we need a trombone player, what do you charge, right? And then I'll give them a rate. If it's a lot of times they'll be, say someone has a brass quartet, someone leads a brass quartet. So like Steve Sperry is a local trumpet player who went to Western. He was the one who was running that brass quartet for the church. So he would get a hold of me and say, here's the gig, here's what it pays, here's what the dates are. When it's a band, it's different for every band, because when you're starting out, if you've got a brand new band, nobody knows who you are, you don't have a draw. So a lot of venues are not gonna, give you a $1,000 guarantee to go and play a show there because they don't know that you're gonna bring enough people in to cover that. Once you've gotten out there and you've kind of shown that you can bring some people out, then you can kind of set the price. So the way it works with MarchFourth, for instance, is that MarchFourth is a 20-person crew. It's about 13 musicians, usually 2 or 3 acrobats. We've got a whole giant crew, so our overhead is massive. So for that band, that band started out doing marches, doing war protest marches back in, 2003? And so at first you're just kind of going everywhere and playing, and the community gets to know you. And at this point we have musicians in New Orleans, all these other different places, and it cost us $4,000 a day to be on the road, and there's a little extra up front to fly people. So that band can't really tour unless we're getting an anchor date that's, someone's paying us $10,000 to be somewhere, and then we build a tour around that. A lot of times those offers come into us through our booking agent. A lot of times we go, okay, we haven't played in California, this year, or we want to plan something for next fall. That's a good time for us to go to California. We'll have our booking agent start hitting up the venues that we normally would play. Kind of putting some together. So, and every gig is different. It's all a negotiation. We ask for crazy money compared to most bands because we have crazy expenses. But you might get 10 grand one place and 2 another, but you gotta keep working to fill out that tour date to make the numbers work and go on tour. So that's how it works.
The only classical musician in the group. Well, I'm sure that everybody has played some classical music in this group, right?
Middle school band camp.
The school band counts. Yeah, absolutely. So tell us a little bit about what your life is like as a symphony player and the lead. What is your position called? Your chair called?
Principal cellist. Yeah, most of my work is teaching right now. And so I'm a mom. I have a 2.5-year-old. And I feel like one thing that I feel so lucky about with this career is that I get to choose, to some extent, how much I'm working and what my hours are. So I'm with her in the mornings, and then she goes to a nanny, and I teach in the afternoons from about 1 to 7 or 1 to 5. And then I have orchestra most Tuesday nights and some Thursday nights. And then like right now I'm about to have a performance on Sunday at the Hotel Leo. I'm going to be playing Shostakovich's 8th String Quartet, which is such a cool quartet. So I have extra rehearsals right now, Saturday night, Tuesday morning, Thursday morning. So kind of like you, my work kind of comes in waves where I'll have a really busy time. Right now is a very busy time, and the summer was a lot more calm. So that's kind of my day-to-day life right now.
So what is your favorite thing about teaching?
That's a great question. I think one of the reasons that I became a music therapist is because I wanted to make a difference in the world. And like I can feel the suffering of the world and I want to help somehow. And I love being able to be with my students every week for sometimes years and years and years. I have some students right now who have been with me for 6 years. And I'm thinking of a student right now that, went through a divorce. This is an adult. Went through a divorce while I was with her and went through some health issues. And I get to be this constant person that's there and doing something positive, hopefully, in her life, where she gets to learn how to express herself through an instrument. So I think for me, it's really just being there for people and giving them this gift of being able to express themselves.
So who here plays an instrument? And do you remember your teacher of your instrument? Yeah, with lots of love in our hearts, right? So it's a hard job. I've tried to do it. No thanks. It's really hard. And so how did you land at the symphony? And how do you play, with your classical music playing, did you play chamber music beforehand and other symphonies, or did you just decide to audition for this symphony?
Well, so before Bellingham, I lived in Madison, Wisconsin. I did my master's of performance at UW-Madison. And pretty soon after I finished that, my husband and I moved to Bellingham. And as we were doing research, I found the orchestra and auditioned right when I got here. And I'm so happy to be in the orchestra. But yeah, I've done chamber music and other orchestras as well. But I was pretty fresh out of school when I moved here.
So that's kind of exciting. Do people play classical music in this room? Any other classical musicians besides Samantha, Mars, and I?
I do.
I know, it's kind of hard.
Classical rock.
Classical rock.
Cabin dude.
All just bluegrass, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, the Celtic Music Festival is happening right now. Does anyone have any questions so far before we move to Nika?
So, Kevin, as you said, it's a rich musical community. I think the reason the crowd may be small tonight is because the Celtic Festival is going on. People have rehearsal on Thursday nights for their band. Boundary Bay is closing, and it's, one of their last gigs at Boundary Bay. I'm wondering if you three, since you are familiar with Bellingham, find that the music community is competitive in whatever genre. I mean, MarchFourth just draws a crowd wherever you are. You don't need publicity. MarchFourth is coming to the Buffalo and people are there. But, Sam, there's there's the Chamber Music Society, there's Watkin Chorale, there are classical groups that perform too. And also, it's people, when I worked at the Herald, people would call me and say, what's a free night that we can schedule a concert? And there were no free nights. So I'm wondering if you find the music community competitive or supportive, or what's your take on all that?
We could probably all take a minute. I'm a firm believer that the rising tide raises all ships, and I think for the most part that's how I've seen Bellingham operate. I think that's what makes this such a special community, is that it's not. I wouldn't say you're in competition. Sometimes you're like, oh man, I had this gig planned, and then my friends group is doing something similar and they're part of Jazz Center Bellingham, or they're part of something that, oh man, I hope I can have a crowd. But it usually works out. I think the Bellingham fan base is pretty loyal. So sometimes it feels like a music festival, and I think it's less frustrating for us than it is for the people that want to go see music, because they're like, oh man, I want to go see Robert Blake, but this band's in town, and this band's coming through, and then it's like, and then you have this too. It would be great if it rained more and it wasn't so beautiful. We would all have more money in our pockets, because it's really hard to compete with that. And we do we have our little 3.5 months of amazing sunshine. But no, I haven't seen any competition that, well, let me say, it's competition without animosity. It's not aggressive competition. It's everybody. We only have such a large population and people coming into Bellingham, so everybody in the arts, and that's beyond music, is trying to get a piece of that pie. But I don't think there's any negativity or anything with that competition. And again, I really feel that when one organization is doing well, it gives other people the courage to start something new, or to go to that, or to go somewhere else. And when you go hear, when you go hear the symphony in April with Yo-Yo Ma, hopefully everybody goes to have your tickets, because I think it's sold out, right? Yeah. When you go hear that, you're going to come away going, oh my God, there's music tomorrow. I want to go hear more music. And I really think there's something infectious about being together and sharing music with people, almost something sacred. So I think when this group or that place is doing well, or this place, it creates momentum that really helps everyone else. And that's my take. That could be totally different.
Yeah. I'd agree with that. I would say that the people in general are not competitive at all. It's very much a community, and everybody's out for each other and supportive of each other. There is a little bit of natural competition in just systemically in the way the music industry works, because you're aware that if you don't bring people out, you might not get the date that you want next time. Someone else is gonna take that place if they're doing, bringing more people out than you are. But the actual people it's just very, very supportive, wonderful community. Yeah.
I would say the same about the classical community. There's definitely competition. Not everyone gets asked to do certain gigs, but I have not felt with anyone any kind of negativity around that. And I hope they would say the same. I hope the other cellists would say the same. And I also agree that people show up in Bellingham. Our house concerts that I do and some of my colleagues do are always sold out. The Bellingham Chamber Music Society sells out pretty much every time. The symphony had a little bit of a hit, I think, with COVID, filling so many people in a small, still large, but a lot of people in one space. But that's starting to come back as well. We're really filling out the audience. So I think thanks to you all and all the listeners, it gets to be a positive community for us too.
Oddfellows Hall in the last few months, I'm not sure people have been flocking to it, but every time I've been there, it's been full on Saturday nights, and there's lots of places here for anybody with the talent and the will to find a place to gig. I think I hope it's a receptive place for the musicians, because we get a lot from you folks. We really do.
So I haven't grilled Nika yet. I got you on the panel because you like to manage and do the books and know stuff about behind the scenes, like the pluses and the minuses of band management. Can you tell us what it's like a little bit?
Managing?
Yeah.
It's wearing many hats. So you have to wear a lot of hats, especially when you're managing your own band at the beginning and you're building like a band in a DIY way. You have to book and manage, and sometimes people make their own merch, or you have to find a guy to make the merch in a way that you can afford it, which is very expensive, and you're broke because you're a musician. So it starts out really hard, but it's kind of fun. I kind of miss the beginning, honestly, but it's grinding. It's a lot of effort.
So at the beginning, how do you know where to book?
I use DoDIY.org. They're a website that somebody built in 2006, and they've kept it up. And people post spaces where they will book shows for like donation-based shows, so that you can get exposure as a new band. I still use them.
Oh, is everyone taking notes? That's a really good tip.
For a new band, that is the place to go.
DIY.com.
I'm the fly queen.
Oh, .org. Oh, so it's like a nonprofit, perhaps? DIY.org.
DIY.org is crowdfunded, yeah. But, I mean, it's basically a message board where you can kind of just like post, hey, I have this place where we can have house shows. Call me. Or I book shows in this town and there aren't enough bands coming. Call me, So, but otherwise, yeah, you have to do word of mouth, and word of mouth is very hard when you're shy, like I am. But you figure it out eventually,
Right.
You find the places. It just takes a lot of grinding, a lot of effort, but it's worth it. It always works, as long as you put the work in.
And then you're reminding me about royalties. Do all of you get royalties, or Nika alone, or you get royalties?
I do. They're supposed to be getting 5% of every recording, either way, but.
Yeah, it's an ever-changing music market. I think, as all of us know, because I mean, how many of you still have CDs? Yeah, I know. I love CDs, but I'm putting out a record. I just talked with the piano player in my band this morning, and we went. I was just at this big music thing in Banff, and I was talking with other artists, and they're saying, "Man, CDs just aren't selling anymore. We're sending people to Bandcamp, and we're selling vinyl, and we're making a lot of money selling vinyl." And I was just like, "Oh my God!" And the eye roll too. Yeah, it's like
so expensive to make.
It is very expensive to make. Yeah, but it's I thought so. I looked into it. And I asked somebody. And I said, "Well, but it's like $1,500 for 100 vinyl, $1,500." And they're like, "Yeah, but we're selling for $40 a piece." I was like, I did the math because I went to Fairhaven, so it took me a long time. But it's an ever-changing market. So I get residual income from recordings that I've been on where I wasn't a buyout. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then I've also been on get residual income, and it's quarterly, and it's paid through Broadcast Musicians International or BMI, and. Yeah, sometimes randomly it's more. It's like 5 times more than it usually is, and sometimes it's like what it usually is, which is like $25. It depends on. It used to be better before streaming, so and iTunes in the States, where you would buy a track on iTunes, used to pay 33 cents to the artist. iTunes Japan paid 66 cents. So if you sold one song, you'd make 33 cents. Now that seems like peanuts, but when you stream a song, you make 1/10 of a cent.
Oh yeah, Nika was complaining
So-
recently about how that is Taylor Swift's fault.
Spotify. Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Taylor Swift stole all our money, that's all.
Spotify is evil. I will go out and I will say that.
Spotify is evil.
Yeah.
Don't use it.
Yeah. So you make 1/10 of a cent. I even did an experiment at the previous institution where I was teaching, where I had 4 computers in my office, and I ran my music on Spotify 24/7 for 6 months. On repeat, on different albums, on different computers. I didn't really see a tangible difference in my residuals, my royalties, for that. That was a state
I can explain to you
institution.
what that is if you'd like.
Yeah. There's a lot of impediments for musicians to get their music out. I also had there was another artist named Kevin Woods, who's a rapper in Philadelphia, and Kevin Chevy Woods. So he somehow was able to tell YouTube that he owned all the music by Kevin Woods, so all my music was suddenly on YouTube for free. So, and that took years to get that taken down from YouTube. So yeah, it's that side of the equation is really difficult for artists. Nobody's really making money from albums anymore unless they're selling those vinyl. It's really, you're using that album as a business card to get the live show. And then if you're selling albums as merch, you might be making some money, but it's not like the tens of millions of dollars.
I see Nika's wheels turning here.
Yes, Nika would probably have wonderful things to say about it.
What recently happened with Spotify, who monopolized streaming music, and that is what everybody listens to music on now, is they made it so if you have less than 1,000 listens on a song in a month, you don't make that money anymore because of the court case with Taylor Swift. So now, anybody who is like my band was, that has a lot of songs that get close to but sometimes under 1,000 listens a month because we have a big discography, and some of those songs are deep cuts, and we don't make that money anymore. It cut our money in half. Spotify totally took, and they're the monopoly on streaming music. I highly recommend using YouTube Music, by the way, because they don't do that, and they do pay everybody. But it's very hard to make money on streaming music. They're still figuring it out. She wanted her agent had her sue them because she wanted more money, and then that ended up spiraling into very expensive and wealthy musicians now get more money, and people that are on the lower level, like my bands were, get less. Or none, in your case sometimes, yeah. Like some of those songs that you streamed all month didn't get anything because it wasn't 1,000 yet. It's very, streaming has not figured itself out yet. So you have to find ways around it.
What are the ways? What are they? Tell us. Wise
Making
one.
people want to buy your merch and have it as a keepsake, because nobody needs a CD or a record anymore because they have the internet. But as something that they can collect and keep, selling shirts and stuff too, and touring really shows is how you make money now. That's it. So you decide to get people to go to the shows.
Yeah, and I think streaming could be a good source of income with proper regulation, but the musicians' lobby is not particularly powerful. So
Get
we'll
with
see.
it, you guys. Come on.
So in 2012, I released a cello relaxation CD. That's when CDs were more a thing. And I really profited because people were buying CDs from me. So then a couple years ago, I released an album, but no one's doing CDs anymore, so it's just download. And I only did it on Bandcamp because of these reasons. I didn't put it on iTunes or Spotify. But Bandcamp, I don't remember if they said you have to either not let anyone listen unless they buy, or they have to be able to listen 3 times, but I chose 3. Do they have to, it has to be 3 times?
It's limited. You can either not let them listen to it before they purchase it, or you can give them 3 listens.
So I chose 3, and I sent my album to all these people that had bought my first one, And a lot of people wrote back and said, loved it, but didn't buy it. So I think the other thing is that the culture, because of streaming, of listeners has changed, and I'm guilty of it too. I mean, I have Apple Music. I don't really buy albums anymore. I think we think of music that we listen to as free at this point. So I just wanted to mention that too as an interesting new development in our listening culture.
What I do on Bandcamp is donation, and it makes a lot. It's actually more than when you're first starting out, especially. It makes a ton of money because people want to crowdfund art that they like when they can tell that they don't have. So if you do donation-based, pay what you want, somebody will buy that track for a cent, and then they'll love it, and then they'll go on to the next one. They'll give you $20, just to be like, I want you to be supported. You know, I do a lot of because donation-based gives them the room to pay what they can. You know, I mean, I would probably listen to it for free because I'm a musician, so I'm poor. You know? I get 3. Good to know.
So I'm just listening to how hard it must be to make a living in music. There used to be a musicians union in town that the jazz people got a lot of benefits from. Is there anything out here that you think would be possible by way, I don't know, a Bellingham Music Commission that would pool what is a productive community among the artists and a receptive community among the listeners that would put music more comprehensively into civic life? Is that stupid to be talking that way or thinking that way?
I don't think so. I think music is probably in some ways less important than it's ever been, but more consumed than it's ever been.
Yeah.
I think more people are listening to music than ever because we have access to everything on our phone. But I think because we have access to everything, we're taking it for granted, like Sam said. It's $9, $9.99 a month for me to have 150 million albums on Apple Music, I think. And I use Apple Music because it pays. I am adamantly against Spotify. As a matter of fact, one time I came across some university students and they were in a circle and they were huddling around and I jokingly said, "What are you doing?" They're like, "We're not doing drugs." and I said, "I'm more worried that you're listening to Spotify." Because it's really terrible. I don't know what you talked about the union. The unions are really interesting. I'm a union member at Western, but music unions. I stopped being a member of the music union because they wanted to tell me that to go play a 1-hour gig, I needed $250, and the next hour had to be at least $75. So if you're looking at, I play a lot of 3-hour gigs. We probably play a lot of gigs where you go 3 or 4 hours. I'd be having to make $600-700, and that's not feasible. No one, I mean, it could be, but no one is willing to pay that. So I dropped my union membership when I left Spokane. I wasn't playing touring shows, Broadway shows anymore, so I let that go. And even though I had agreed to that, I was still taking every $50 and $60 and $100 and $200 gig because I had to eat. But yeah, you also said it's very difficult. It can be very difficult, but I think everybody up here and every musician I know is wearing many hats, like you said, and they're hustling and they're working. It's just like when you're applying for a job and you put out 20 job applications. It's just like you get that job and you have it for one day, and the next day you go out and you put out 20 job applications, and you get that job and then you have it for 2 days. And then it's a real grind. But the benefit or the positive thing about that is that, well, it's not a positive thing, but most other fields are seeing less job security and more people having to do more anyway for less. So like when the whole gig income thing started, people were like, oh, you got a side hustle. And I thought, gig income, that's my life. That's really funny that people are using that now to describe what mostly younger people are going through, entering into the workforce, but not limited to younger people, because it's just what artists have done for millennia.
So,
just on the union thing, I've known people who've been part of musicians' unions and gotten good things out of them. It kind of depends where you're at. I think often in bigger cities, musicians' union is more viable. or if it's connected to a specific type of work, for instance, like studio work, something like that, or if it gives people access to certain gigs that pay better or that are a certain quality of gig that you're not getting somewhere else. But the tricky thing about getting musicians organized is that we're all unique, and we're all coming at it from a different place, and we're all working on the next. We're trying to dial in some songs. We're trying to get the band sounding tight. We're looking forward to the next gigs, at least in the kind of music that I play. There's not a lot of time to organize like that. You're always kind of just focused on the music stuff. So, I've considered joining the musicians union in the past and kind of looked at it and was like, well, what does it get me exactly? Because I don't have to be a member of the union to go play a gig at the Wild Buffalo. And there's always new bands coming up who are willing to play for free or for less than you are. And that's where you just have to say, well, this is what we're worth, and, get what you can. Yeah, that's it. Anyone else?
From an outsider's perspective, I do think that the Bellingham community could just use more communication between genres and between other musicians. So, I mean, you don't need a union for that. You need a message board, or just something there, a Facebook page, or something for musicians to connect with each other between genres, and for people to jump in on bands and play more and stuff, so they can make more and survive. And that's the kind of stuff I like to do. So, hopefully, something will come out soon. Maybe we'll do it.
So I have a question about your kind of relationship with non-professional musicians, either as teachers or mentors or just friends. I'm sure you all have friends who are non-professional musicians. And how do you view their opportunities to perform and the level that they play at, and how that fits in with community? Just because I see a lot of musicians who they're pretty good, but they're not professional. So what's that like for you to have friends who are non-professionals?
Oh, I love it. I love listening to, if I have a roommate that's working on some music, I enjoy the sound of practicing in the house. I enjoy, if someone's doing an open mic, or, going to support, or just hearing someone play around a campfire or whatever. I'm all for it. So, yeah, love it.
Yeah, same. Something that I found as I've, especially in Europe, is that the idea of the professional amateur gets a little blurred. I remember spending some time in Sweden, and after every gig, we'd go out and we'd be talking at a bar or a club or something, and somebody go, "Oh, you're musicians? I'm a musician too, but I own a factory that makes medical supplies, but I'm really into this." And then my buddy go, or I'm in this band, and one of the professionals would go, "Oh, I know that band. You guys are great." And he's like, "Yeah, but I have a factory that makes medical supplies." But I think I think it's wonderful that, and this is something special about music, that you can really do your whole life, and you can do it as a hobby that can lead to semi-professional work, which can sometimes blur with professional work. But you can be in many different circles, and it's all great. And then you can always just leave. I might become a cabinet maker tomorrow. I don't know. So I might decide I don't need these fingers. Get a skill saw. So, but yeah, no, it's especially in town. I think Bellingham, it has such a positive music community that there's a lot of levels of music, and I think they converge more than most places. So.
Yeah, I would say the line is blurred too. Even in the Bellingham Symphony Orchestra, we have a lot of musicians that are like full-time doctors, but really great violinists. And I noticed for my adult students, there are so many opportunities to play. There's a couple of orchestras and chamber groups, and the Skagit Symphony has a lot of people who have other jobs but are great at their instruments. And then I go to Green's Corner sometimes on Monday nights, and there's these really wonderful Celtic players that I don't think are necessarily professionals, but I think it's wonderful. I love that about our community. There's so many opportunities for that.
You have a question
We spent about 10 years living on Orcas Highland, and I ended up playing with the community band for probably 3/4 of that time. And it's amazing how many people are involved in community bands. You don't necessarily see them, although I know since I've noticed them when I see somebody scheduled that way, there's almost every county has some community band that has a program that they're doing during the summertime. And anyway, it was a sort of thing, just show up and nobody's really checking to see if you're a certain level or not, but you figure out where things are, and sometimes you're lucky in terms of the people who are directing the band and know how to bring all of that together. I just had one time when a person decided to try playing French horn next to me, and that was painful.
So something that's been on my mind and I've been curious about is, how do you promote yourself? How do you promote your label or your band or yourself? Like Mars, you said you just are networking and stuff, but like to promote your band so that you can go all over the place, all over the world. Same with MarchFourth. Like, the booking agent does that?
Everybody's supposed to do promotion, really, and you pursue any possible channel that you have. We're talking Google, Facebook, Instagram, websites, every possible channel. But yeah, and you try to be not an ad, so you don't want to sound like it was written by a robot. You want to be kind of humble, but hey, come look at me, please. I'm playing here on this day. You know, come support artists, and so I hope the community comes back to you.
And like the radio. Do people listen to the radio anymore? Raise your hand.
My
Some
best friend's
people.
been promoting on the radio. He's not doing super good though. Nobody listens to the radio but me. I listen.
Well, and those like 8 people that just
I know, it's us. It's just us, guys.
Yeah, I'll say for MarchFourth, there's so many ways that we try to promote, when we can. A lot of times the venues are doing it, a lot of times we're doing it, but we use social media, we use print media, we use radio. It really depends on where we're at and what's there, A couple of my favorite ways that we've done promotion in the past, I used to tour with a band called Yoga Man Burning Band, and we would go to, Oh, nice. Our very first tour, we went to Arcata, California, and played a gig down there. It was pretty sparsely attended. It was like a Tuesday night. We went in, before the gig, we went and played on the radio on KHUM, which is a fantastic independent radio station in Humboldt County. We went back a year later to find out that we were the most requested band on KHUM for that year. No idea. Nobody had, even told us until we got back into town, and all of a sudden we've got 100 people at the show, and we're like, what the hell's going on? So you really never know what's going to hit. We just happened to have an in-studio performance that was really high energy and really fun and got people's attention. And they recorded it and they started playing it. So that helped a lot. One of my favorite promotional pieces of print media that I ever read, MarchFourth was about to play in, where was it? Somewhere in Montana or something. And we got this, somebody sent us a link to this article, and this wasn't our doing. There's this article that was like, is MarchFourth too risque for the family fun fair in whatever this town is, right? And it's, oh, Edna so-and-so says that something about their gyrating and their skimpy costumes. And, it was written in a very negative light. Basically, this isn't a band for kids. We thought it was hilarious. We loved it, absolutely loved it. And we're reading this thing going, this is going to get people out. We need promo like this all the time. Very randomly, we end up parking the bus in a hotel parking lot for the night nearby. We went into the hotel bar. There was a band playing, so we went in and got some drinks, and we were listening to the band, and we're chatting with this guy at the bar. And when he realized who we were, he's like, "Oh, you're MarchFourth. I wrote an article about you guys." And that's what the guy does, is he writes clickbait to get people to go to shows.
I love it.
And that was absolutely just kind of a trolly clickbait article. It was very effective, and it was hilarious. Yeah.
Wow. Did you guys tip him? Tip him good?
I think we bought him a drink. Yeah.
That's an awesome story.
First of all, I'd like to give a plug to our favorite venue is Firehouse Cafe in Fairhaven. You never know what you're going to find there, and sometimes we've found like some world-renowned, artists. I think a guitarist is one that comes to mind. They played in Seattle, and then 2 days later they're going to be in Vancouver. So with the help of Western Washington University, they grabbed them, and then you go right on the way up. So you just never know what you're going to get there, and it's a really cool venue. So, but my question is, I was interested about the economics, and, specifically, it doesn't make sense to me how band members get paid, and we go to like some brewery, and there might be 30 people there, and here's the whole band, and how much could they be making, and who paid for that? But more importantly, we know that, okay, well, they've got a day job, probably, and that kind of thing. And then you hear the nationally known people, they're making 6 figures, 7 figures a year, and all that kind of thing. But there's some in-between people, and one that comes to mind without naming a name, we saw her in Nashville one time at some little small club, and she was one of the opening acts. She played like 3 or 4 songs, or 5, maybe most, and then she was done, and we liked her, and she said, "Oh, follow us on Instagram," and we did, and here it is, like 6 years later, and I still see her information, and she's traveling all over the country now, and she actually came to Bellingham a year ago when we thought, oh, maybe we'll go get tickets, and by the time we looked it up, they were sold out in less than a day, and I thought, well, nobody knows her. How could they sell out? Well, it turns out she was opening for somebody that was more nationally known at the Wild Buffalo. And I think it was Wild Buffalo. They show the whole lineup of the songs, and she played for 20 minutes, and then the main person played. So that where she's an opening person all the time, and she'll show up like a weekend festival, and her name's way down at the bottom, and that kind of thing. But that kind of person that's opening a lot, I mean, it seems like their expenses are enormous because they're traveling by car all over the place, or the country, literally all over the place. But what kind of money can that person make? Is that a 6-figure job if they're opening for others? No? Okay.
They don't make enough. I'll tell you. So say a band makes $2,000 off of a show, as in I'm a band, we make $2,000. Their support makes roughly $200 to $400. Sometimes it goes down to $200. That's not enough money to tour. Doing support is really paying your dues. So if you're supporting another band, you're not going to get paid enough. You're doing that to get the exposure from the other band's audience to build your audience. Mm-hmm. So if she's touring and she looks like she's doing okay, she's saving up money to do that. That's the type of artist you want to give money to. You want to give money to the supporting artists, buy their merch, keep them going.
Yeah, when we started touring, it was very much, okay, we want to put a tour together. So how much do we have to have in the bank in order to do this, right? You have to kind of look at your expenses and make that happen. With MarchFourth now, we don't tour as often as we'd like to because we can't pay ourselves enough. So we'll look at the money on a proposed tour, and and can we afford to pay everyone, $100 a day is our going rate right now, which is nothing, but it's enough to get by. So if we can afford to do that on top of all the other expenses that we're going to have, then we'll go ahead with that tour. But a lot of, the people that you see who are just starting out and they have a fancy tour bus, they had money, or somebody gave them money, or their parents gave them money. Or a lot of them sometimes, if you come at it from another angle, like say you make a bunch of funny music videos and those get a bunch of hits. I saw a band that came to Bellingham years ago called Turquoise Jeep. They had just done a bunch of goofy videos, and they had enough money rolling in from the YouTube channel that they were able to tour off of that. So it really depends. There's a lot of different ways to kind of approach it.
Most of the people that I used to actually tour with MarchFourth too, different time for March. But most of the touring I've done has been as a sideman, and the leader knows they're going to lose money. So they save up so that they can get their music out and hire the people that they want to play with. And then you tour, and they know that they're going to be able to pay their musicians something, and that they're going to eat it. And then they're going to go tour with somebody else and make that money, knowing that band leader is going to eat it. It's kind of like passing a $20 bill back and forth between sometimes, in music, sometimes they make that joke. But that's how a lot of it works. When you typically, the tour bus thing, when you see somebody who you're like, oh, I don't know them, but they're at the Wild Buffalo, and look at that big shiny bus. Rich parents, financial irresponsibility, and that's about it for that. Or they saved up for years to try to tour like on the hog, when they really shouldn't be. It's a really interesting business, because people do it. But most musicians I know that are fantastic that don't have a full-time teaching gig like me, I feel very fortunate. They're not making six figures. They're living. What did one of my guitar players, John Stowell, who's fantastic, he described it to my college students once. He said, "You live like you did in college, but with better gear." and John has a Toyota Camry with probably 400,000 miles on it now, but he plays internationally all over. He's out on the road probably 42 weeks a year, and he's made friends all over the world. And he could make a tour that starts in Bellingham and ends in Tampa, and then take a flight to Bangkok and tour all through Asia. And he's doing it very meagerly, and he's not living beyond his means, and he gets to play his music. That's the other side of it. Sometimes you want to play your music, or you're going to go play that Casa Bonita mariachi gig, like I said, and sometimes you come to a point in your life when you want to focus more on your music, and it's a real interesting balancing act, I think, in doing all this. So.
I don't have much to say. I haven't been on a tour, so good job for all of you that have done it.
So, speaking of tips, the symphony's all volunteer. You do it just for the love, right? Just
the principals get paid, and
principals
assistants
get paid. So you get paid. Yee! So when you pay the Buffalo or the Firehouse or whatever as a group, what's the take at the door? Who gets the money? The venue, the musicians? Is it just tips? Is there a percentage? How does that work?
Yeah. Well, I'll add. Yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I was just saying it's the last one. It's the last one. There's a percentage. Promise. Am I right?
Yeah, generally percentage.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's a percentage.
It's different every time though. Yeah. They do a free Friday funk night, and I'm not sure how that works, but I think it's coming out of the bar. So a lot of places will give you a specific cut of the bar. Some places will give you a guarantee, just because they know that you're going to bring people in. They're going to make their money at the bar. Usually it's a percentage, say the venue's taking 10% of the door, whatever it is, right? But it's different every time, and it's often negotiated as you're booking the gig. Everything is open to negotiation, and if the deal is not going to work for you, change it. Yeah.
Every show is different and every fan base is different. So all of the percentages are different. Sometimes you book a show that is just, you get a cut of the bar and the show's free. You just never know. It just depends on who you're booking for.
Yeah, and even from show to show at the same venue with the same band, it's going to change because, when our booking agent calls, say we were playing the Fox Theater a lot in Denver, Boulder. Hey, we sold out the last 2 gigs at the Fox Theater. What do you think about putting us up at the Boulder Theater, which has a little bit bigger capacity? Or, how about a $12,000 guarantee this time instead of $6,000 that we had last time, because you see that we're going to bring people out. But it's really, when you're starting out, you don't have any kind of negotiating power like that. You're just looking for a place to play and start building that up.
So it sounds like the grind never stops. But for those of you who feel like you've reached a point where you have to search for it less and more comes to you, have reached that point, would you say that it comes more from maybe the connections you've made in the industry or your hard work and your accomplishments, either through promotion or just for the band that you have?
Ooh, yeah, it's both.
Yes.
But connections are huge. Connections are huge. When I got into MarchFourth, I'd quit the other band I was in. I was trying to figure out what to do next, and a friend said, "Hey, you should go play with MarchFourth." And I knew somebody in the band. I don't know if any of you know Paul Chandler, but he was a musician around here for a long time. Yeah. So Paul, huh? He's still there. Well, he's still in Portland, but not with MarchFourth so much. But, oh yeah, he came up and we did a gig together. It was like a month ago. He came up for a wedding of a mutual friend, and we were hired to wake a guy up on his 50th birthday. Yeah, we went in at 8 in the morning and played "Feels So Good," blasted it in his face. It's the last gig I did with Paul. But how did I get on that topic? Oh, Paul knew who I was, and that was a thing where it was timing mostly. It was they needed a trombone player at this on this particular tour that was coming up, and then Paul said, "Oh, he can play. He's a friend. He's going to do a good job." So personal connections are huge for that.
Yeah, I think if I were to pick one, it would be the personal connections. I remember one of my colleagues, when I moved here, I wanted to meet as many people as I could and just let them know I'm here and connecting. And he was asking me about myself. And when I told him I did have my master's in cello, he was kind of like, well, no one really cares how many degrees you have. It's more about how you play. And so, it is accomplishment too. I always tell my students that you do have to play at a high level to get called, but also your soft skills, showing up on time, being a kind person, being reliable. For me, I think I get asked to do gigs more because of that than my skill necessarily. There are cellists that I would say are more skilled that don't get called as much. And I share that with my students too, because I think that's important. So personal connections.
Yeah, 100%. I think, nobody wants to play with an a-hole.
Yeah, don't
And nobody has to anymore because there's so many kind, wonderful people that play so well. 50 years ago, there were a lot of, I won't say that word, but there were a lot of non-kind people on the scene. And that's almost unheard of today. You almost don't hear of somebody throwing a fit like Kathleen Battle, or, it's almost completely gone because there's so many amazing, kind, giving people that play at a mind-bogglingly high level. So, yeah.
Speaking of, Speaking of throwing fits, that was going to be a question of mine. Oh, but I'll let you go. I just wanted to hear some drama, but you should ask. You ask your question, then I want to hear about drama.
Okay, well, my question is for Samantha regarding the music therapy. What would a session involve?
Yeah, it depends on who I'm working with, but I'll describe a session with a kid. So I worked in a children's hospital, and there was a little boy who just had a lot of anger, really, really little, maybe 3 to 5, I don't remember. And I can imagine being in a children's hospital, getting shots all the time, not knowing what's happening, and not having control. And so I came in, I had this cart of all these different instruments. Does anybody know what a boom whacker is?
One guy.
So there are these plastic tubes that are colorful, and they each, like the red one is C, let's just say, and the yellow is D. And so I came in with these boom whackers, and he got to just hit them on the hospital bed. And I did something called entrainment, where you match their rhythm. So if he's going boom, boom, then I'm matching. And if he gets faster, then I go faster. And if he gets slower, I go slower. And just that entrainment, that musical validation of expression, and someone being right there with him having control over the music, and then we turned it into a song and we sang something to his rhythm. So that's one example, but playing for someone in hospice is very different. Playing for or working with someone who has autism, and we want to work on some of the social skills, is different. So it really depends on the person. It's an amazing profession if you want to learn more about it.
Are you going to do more, do you think?
Maybe. I found it, because working in a children's hospital was very emotionally draining for me. I think it might be some of the most meaningful work I've done in my life, but I'm not sure. Well, I love my career right now.
Could you do it with me? I have autism. I need therapy.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah, please. I love boom whackers.
I should have brought him here for you all to play.
You have a patient now.
I feel like I'm really interested in community music therapy right now, because I think our world is just there's just so much sadness, so much divisiveness. I would love to do more for the community to bring us all together through music, because you can sing a song with people who disagree with you, and you're friends because you're singing together. You know, it's amazing what music can do to bring us together.
That makes me cry. Okay, so give me some dramas. Were there ever any instances where you felt like you were playing with someone that just needed to go away?
What do you mean go away?
Get thrown in the Hudson River.
Amanda's my housemate. She knows I'm getting a divorce. Are you baiting me?
No. No, just like band dynamics. What about, what if you are a fledgling and you want to just play in a band, and then you end up playing with someone where like the chemistry is just weird? Or if you're on tour and the chemistry is weird, like how is that managed?
I will say it doesn't go away. There's no fixing it. If somebody's problematic on tour, or you're uncomfortable with somebody in your band, it does not go away no matter what you do. That's in my experience. Maybe someone else will figure out the natural cure to that dynamic, but
do you fire people?
They usually just leave. They get uncomfortable too when you're uncomfortable. They just leave.
Playing in large groups like MarchFourth, the nice thing is you don't ever have to fire someone. You just don't hire them again. We have such a big crew, and we have a lot of depth at every position essentially. So we've definitely had people come in where you're like, ooh, that's not a person I want to be in a bus with. And that's going to happen sometimes. Sometimes, when you're down a bass, like a bass drummer, and you need that, you're gonna, take what you can get sometimes in an emergency situation where someone's got a health crisis or something like that. Sometimes you got to play with some random person sometimes, and you get the best person you can. But yeah, there's definitely, every once in a while you get one where you're just like, oh, don't want that person around. But I will say too that touring is really good for you. You learn how to set boundaries with people because you have the music in common. You might not have a lot of other things in common. I've toured with a lot of people that I would consider kind of maniacs, just in terms of their personality and awareness of people around them. But you gotta, you're also, sometimes it's worth it, sometimes it's not. And so you just kind of set your boundaries and you say, this is what's acceptable to me and what's not. And you get pretty good at that when you're traveling and playing with a lot of different people.
Marge, can I ask you a question real quick?
Yeah, what's that?
Since you toured with so many people all at the same time so many times, most people overall, most of them are awesome, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's
Definitely.
a bad egg every once in a while, but
Definitely.
overall, most people are awesome.
Yes, overall, most people are awesome. Definitely. No, the people I've toured with are incredible. And yeah, a lot of us are some type of neurodivergent. Music is therapy for a lot of people. It's pattern recognition, and it's a lot of math, and it's a lot of expressiveness, and people do it for a lot of different reasons. But the people I've toured with are just, everyone's unique and fascinating and really fun to get to know. So I love that part of being on tour. You see each other not at your best, but it's very supportive. MarchFourth for me has been very, very supportive in terms of just having a very large crew that's very encouraging you to do a lot of very crazy things all the time, with your clothes and your body on stage and all this stuff. It's just a very fun and kind of playful environment.
Yeah, I think too there's a level of professionalism that you can bring where you can work, you can make music, and you can actually make music at a really high level with people that you totally disagree with or that you can't get along with socially. Maybe Sam knows the name, but I'm drawing a blank on the name, but one of the most famous string quartets in the world and in America this was 15 years ago that somebody was relating this story to me, 20 years ago maybe. By the end of their career, they all hated each other. They wouldn't be in the same car with each other. They wouldn't fly with each other. They would not travel with each other. They would show up on stage, not say a word, play amazing music. And then, sometimes that happens. Sometimes you have a personality issue with somebody that can't be resolved, but the music that you make is amazing, and that's your career maybe, and you'd rather be doing it with somebody else, but or just you really love the music that you make, even though you couldn't be more different than night and day.
We've all had relationships like that.
Yeah, and you show up and you do your job, so there's a professionalism to that too. And sometimes, like I remember being say MarchFourth being on tour and getting almost in a fist fight with the snare drummer, who was riding me the whole time, the whole 30, 45 days we were out or whatever. And once that happened and the band leader broke it up, he was like my best buddy. And I was like, what the hell? This is so weird. And then we were like buds. And all the other tours were fine. Who knows? I don't know. It's just, we're so complicated as humans. Even though we're so simple, we're so complicated. But yeah, I think everybody wants to hear the drama. So when you go see like the Miles Davis biopic, it's all Miles doing drugs and smacking people. But really there's for the most part, I think as a percentage, there's so little drama in professional music. The drama is going to happen it's not going to happen in the band. It's going to happen at the truck stop. With people seeing you in your MarchFourth outfit or in Missouri, or when you're pulled over at the border, or the drama is it's almost any of these music biopics. They just without that they always highlight on the really dramatic things, but that's 1% of it. I know. I'm sorry. It's really boring. I wanted to have a show once about musicians, and I thought, man, it's so boring. You show up, you do your job, you hang out, you go home. So it'd be like Friends.
I assume that you guys all play in the Whatcom area, and I just wondered if you actually trade people around. Is someone who is a good bass player, can they play with 3 different bands in the area? What's that?
There's a young man named Aaron who plays stand-up bass. He plays with everything.
Okay. So you guys have to mix and match a little bit once in a while, and it works out? Well, probably sometimes it doesn't.
I think as a musician in general, you have to.
Yeah.
You can't. Most people are not, even in the professional world. Most people are not making a living at one place.
Yeah.
Even symphony orchestra musicians in New York are playing in the New York Phil, and they're teaching at NYU or Juilliard, and they're playing in this, and they're taking this gig, and they're doing that. They might be playing a Broadway show. It's very seldom that one in the arts, I think in general, but in music, there's very seldom that one thing is your full gig, is your full job.
Okay.
I heard recently about a local band called Three for Silver. They did the shrimp cult thing at a Jamboree Festival, and I looked them up. He writes the songs, and then he just has anyone play with him. So they have a lot of cycling members. So if you want an exciting band to see a different crew every show, Three for Silver is the name of that band.
Yeah, you never know what configuration that band's going to be in.
This guy's probably there sometimes.
I played with him as Shrimp Street Schnapps trumpets at the Jamboree.
Everyone did.
It was fantastic.
Well, I'm definitely impressed with you guys because sticking with that field, that profession, I'm sure it's a lot of work, and you have to be flexible at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it is, and it's very rewarding in often non-financial ways, right?
Usually non-financial ways.
That's kind of, when I was a kid, like the dream was to get on the radio and be famous and everything, right? And then kind of around the time I got out of college, I kind of realized, I can have a very enjoyable life doing this. It's going to be a lot of work, but the upsides are, the travel, the human connections, even just playing music, you're connecting with other musicians on stage, you're connecting with the audience. It's a very fulfilling thing. So that, to me, has always been great. And there's times when you're, traveling to beautiful places and eating the best food and camping out, and you're like, how do I get to do all this? It's incredible. So it's been a very rewarding and rich experience for me. Even when the money's been lean, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Any last words of wisdom from you four before we sign out of here?
I'll just say real quick that it's never too late. I have people come up to me at shows all the time and just, oh man, I used to play trombone, or I used to play guitar, and I really wish I could get back into it. And I always say you can. Honestly, you spend 15, 20 minutes a day, you could be better than me in a couple of years. It's not really, it's not always natural talent, that's a factor, but it's putting the time in and deciding you want to do it. And so I always encourage people that get something out of music, that want to play it, put some time in and just do it. Yeah. Anyone else?
Sure. I know that we talked about the challenges a lot of being a musician, and that's definitely there. And I won't speak for everyone here, but I'll speak for myself. I'm so thankful that I'm a musician, and having a little one and not having almost any time for personal things in my life right now, I get to do my love music in the time that I have, because it's my profession. And I'm just so lucky that I get to go to a job that I really don't get tired of teaching. I don't feel like I need a vacation. I love performing. And so I just wanted to leave you with that I at least find it to be a really rich experience.
It's ever changing and ever evolving, and it doesn't grow wearisome, I don't think, especially at the side of teaching and in music. But I was like, what would I tell younger musicians, just in case we had younger musicians? And one is that if you stick at it long enough, you'll be okay. It might be 25 years, might be 40 years, you'll be okay. The other thing is I'm doing this because I don't think I could do anything else. I don't think I could happily do anything. Not that no, but I don't think anything else would bring me as much fulfillment as this. Like if I thought there was something, like I made the joke about cabinetry. If I thought, man, I could go make cabinets, that would be really cool. That's probably way more lucrative. and I would go do it. But I think for me, from a very early age, it was very clear that this is what I was going to do with my life. And I'm fortunate that I also love teaching, so I get to blend the two. So.
Thank you very much. Can we give a big hand to our guests this evening? Thank you very much for your time. And